All right. If I can be heard, give me a 4. You won't believe this. I didn't even have my microphone plugged in. I'm up here talking into a microphone that's not even plugged in. Where do they do that at? Nonetheless, let's go ahead and start. Sleek eye for my airheadedness. The Kaddish di Rabbanan, Yikadal va Yikadesh Shemei Rabbah, Vayamadi Barakerute Vayimelich Malkute, Bachayachunuv Yamichunuv Kaye, the Kobeit Yisrael, Bagala, Uvizman Kariv, Vimeru Amen, Yeheshmei Rabba Mavorak, Le Olam Ulme Almaya. Yit Barak Vayistabach, Vayipa'ar, Vayiroman, Vayit Naseh, Vayitalal, Vayit Naseh Shema, Da Kadisha Berichu, Leela Leela Mechol Barakata, Shirata, Vatush Bechata, Vanechmata, Damiran Balma, Vimeru Amen. Al Israel Vayal Rabbanan, Vayal Tamedechun, Vayal Kol Tamedechun, Dasakin, Borita, Di Kadishta, Di Batara, Chaden, Vedeba Kolatar, Viatar, Yehelachon, Ulchon, Chana Vachasida, Barachamin, Kadam, More, Shimaya, Va'ara, Vimaru Amen. Yehesh Samarabamen, Shemaya V'chaim, V'sheba, V'yeshua, V'nechama, V'shizliba, Urafua, Ugeula, V'salicha, V'kafara, V'ruach, V'hatzala, Lenu Ulchol, Amo Israel, Say Shalom Bimromav, Hu Barachamav, Yasei Shalom, Malenu, V'yakol Israel, Vimaru Amen. Exalted and holy is his great name. In the universe that he has created according to his desire, may his kingdom reign with the fruition of his salvation, and may his Messiah come speedily. Let us say Amen. May he rescue his nation in your lifetime and in the lifetime of all Israel quickly and expeditiously. And all say Amen. May his great name be blessed forever and ever. Blessed, lauded, esteemed, exalted, lifted up, honored, praised, and extolled is the name of the Holy One. Blessed be he, above and beyond from all blessings, songs, adoration, consolation that may be expressed or uttered in this world, and all say Amen. And upon Israel, their rabbis, their pupils, and those learning from them, they who occupy themselves in the Holy Torah, and everywhere abroad, may there be for us, them and you, favor, kindness, and mercy from the ruler of heaven and earth. And let us say, Amen. May abundant peace descend from heaven with life, gratification, deliverance, alleviation, salvation, healing, redemption, pardon, atonement, and ease for us and for all of your people Israel. And we all say, Amen. As he who makes harmony in his high place, may he in his mercy place peace upon us and on all his people Israel. Let us all say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom to each and every one of you. I pray that you are finding yourself today here in Hebrew Vision, receiving a full dose of edification, blessing, and enlightenment and encouragement as we find ourselves in very trying and daunting days. I want to acknowledge our Moreh, M70, for taking the full load on himself this afternoon for himself, and for providing us with the readings from the Parsha, which is Shemini, as well as the Haftorah from Nabi Yechezkel, the prophet Yechezkel or Ezekiel, as well as for your offering part 2 of the nature of power, Todah Rabbah, for that, as well as for your tefillah and your playing of the vibrations. I want to acknowledge all the elders, of course, the Emot, the Morim, Shebaniah, and M70, and to the Akim, Akiot, and the Yeladim. One love to each and every one of you all, as always. Today, I've noticed that there are a lot of so-called black people in America, particularly, who are feeling the burn, I guess you could say, right? And being that this is an election year, and we are in election season, I think that it is appropriate to truly examine this matter in light of our reality, in light of our historical reality, and the foolishness of us to continue to look to a system and these civil servants that are given to us or selected as our leaders. So we need to have a little more political education, and that's something we did addressing these matters, and understand this in light of our kingdom orientation. We have to understand the dynamics of the worldly system, which Yehoshua said his kingdom is not of this world, in light of Yah's kingdom and our responsibility to bring that forth. And so I want to present a topic today in this presentation, or several topics. And the name of this presentation is called Politics, Corruption, Identity, Nationality, and Self-Determination. Again, it is politics, corruption, identity, it's nationalism. It should be nationalism, and self-determination. I have for us today 4 articles that I want to go over and provide us with some insight into these matters that I believe captures of our reality in the diaspora and the imperative for us to look to our land. So I'm going to start with this first article, which is coming to us from the Huffington Post, and I will have a passage to after the 4th article. But this first article comes to us from the Huffington Post. The name of the article is entitled Nixon Aide. This is President Richard Nixon. And Aide reportedly admitted the drug war was meant to target black people. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Of course we knew we were lying about the drugs. Politics, corruption, identity, nationalism, and self-determination. This is an article written by Hillary Hansen, Toda Rabbah for your 4s. For those of you who have already acknowledged your receipt of this article, let me go ahead and get a few more as I go ahead and pick this article up. And you can see in this picture here, this is a John D. Ehrlichman, a Nazi, who was appointed counsel to the White House, is seen in 1968. You can tell all day that is a German Nazi name. Let's get some more 4s, people. An eye-opening remark from a former aide to President Richard Nixon pulls back the curtain on the true motivation of the United States war on drugs. John Ehrlichman, who served 18 months in prison for his central role in the Watergate scandal, now he wants to come clean, was Nixon's chief domestic advisor when the president announced the war on drugs in 1971. And you can see from all of the 70s movies, the blaxploitation movies, of how the drug game proliferated. One of the most sickening movies of the 70s that so many people were just ranting and raving over, being Superfly. From its opening scene almost to the ending scene was nothing more than the abuse of drugs. So we can see how the was already working in tandem with the government. So this administration cited a high death toll and the negative social impacts of drugs to justify expanding federal drug control agencies. Doing so set the scene for decades of socially and economically disastrous policies. Socioeconomics, people. Okay? This is nothing more than enslavement. This is slavery under a new name, under another name. Okay, so they got more sophisticated with are genocide for the most part, are attempted genocide. So let me get this right though. There's only 4 people that got this article, huh? Out of 27 people in the room, only 4 got the article. Come on, y'all. I know, you know, it had a little internet problem. And so got booted off, but hopefully we're back in full effect online as well as in this room as soon as it initializes. Just all kinds of difficulties. It's crazy. We're reading again the Nixon war against black people that prompted this war on drugs. As I'm waiting for Pal Talk to come back up. So just bear with me, please, and thank you. Making this a little difficult for me for whatever reason. Be it an internet problem, be it something else. There's always some sort of technical difficulty. So I apologize for the delay. But hopefully we'll get this going very soon. The room is initializing. And we will get this started. Back up. Oh, buddy. Excuse me. I don't know if I'm the only one having problems, if there's other individuals. Okay, let's try this one last time. Hopefully, here we go. We'll get it going. I'm getting chats from people. The room is not just coming right away. Okay, I'm gonna log off and log back on. This is just mad. We sometimes think that powers that be tend to throw some little viruses, keep us out of the room. So it's not unlikely. It's not unlikely. Buddy, oh pal, oh buddy, oh pal. Can I be heard? Give me a 4. Okay, hallelujah. I'm picking up from the article where it starts with the first quote from. Okay, you got me now, Shimson? Hallelujah. But I'm picking back up on the article with the quote, and I'm going to put the first sentence of the quote in there so you can see where we are in the article. It says this. This is Ehrlichman speaking. You want to know what this is really all about? He asked a man who, after public disgrace and a stretch in federal prison, had little left to protect. The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had 2 enemies. Listen to these enemies. The anti-war left and black people. So the socialists pretty much, and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Listen to that MO. Listen to that diabolic, wicked mindset that was taken from the top of the United States of America. This is coming from the top down. And of course, he's even taken orders from some advisors and from individuals who are behind the scenes that you don't see and you won't see in the public eye, but we expose them here. But this is what is taking place and has taken place since our arrival here on slave ships, an intent to either exploit us or to exterminate us. So in other words, the intense racial targeting that becomes synonymous with the drug war wasn't an unintended side effect. It was the whole point. The quote kicks off bombs, legalize it all. The cover story for Harper's April 2016 issue. You can read the old article right there at that link. But Baum explained to the HuffPost why he didn't include the quote in his 96 book, Smoke and Mirrors, The War on Drugs and Politics of Failure. He says there are no authorial interviews. Okay, so this is author being with the authors in Smoke and Mirrors at all. It's written to put the readers in the room as events transpired, Baum said in an email. Therefore, the quote didn't fit. It did change all the reporting I did for the book, though, and changed the way I worked thereafter. The quote does, however, appear in the 2012 book, The Moment, a collection of life-changing stories from writers and artists. Baum also talked to HuffPost about why Ehrlichman would confess such a thing in such blunt terms. Quote, it taught me that people are often eager to unburden themselves. They want to get that guilt off their conscience. Once they no longer have a dog in the fight, Baum said. The interviewer needs to be patient sometimes and needs to ask the right way. But people will often be incredibly honest if given the chance. As World relates to this update on the 25th of last month, 3 of Ehrlichman's former colleagues have disavowed the quote attributed to him, questioning whether he said it and suggesting that if he did, he may have been making a sarcastic comment. They also dispute the idea that the war on drugs was racially motivated. We don't even have to question that matter there. We understand full and well the machinations and the diabolic agendas that are behind the scenes. There's not even a need for us to question it, given the historical precedents and realities that have been completely carried out with impunity and maleficence by these devils. All right, so we know what the deal is, in other words, and how this drug war clearly is a war on us. We know that every war, including the war on terror, which is now being used, and you're seeing most of these patsies that they're setting up look like us, and they're being called terrorists. So this is another justification to go about carrying out some sort of, vilification and criminalization and demonization of our people. But this is, again, dealing with politics, corruption, identity, nationalism, and self-determination. So this is an article here from the Burning Spear. When you access this article, give me a 4, please. It is entitled the BIBC National Conference, the 2016 election, and the struggle for self-determination. Because we got to really look at these candidates clearly. So you can see here some contrast, some dialectical materialism and Hegelian dialectic dealing with Trump and Malcolm, Cruz and Huey P. You can see Hillary and Asada, and you can see Sanders and Garvey. Okay, so you got the red, white, and blue above, and you got the red, black, and green below. Which side are you on? Huh? Are you feeling the burn? Or are you trusting that Hillary Clinton is the next best candidate for the presidential office of the United States? Or do you support the Mormon Ted Cruz? Or what about the idiotic Donald Trump, the megalomaniac of megalomaniacs? Well, let's take a look at what this article says about this conference. The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations is holding its annual national conference, the 2016 elections, and the struggle for self-determination on April 9th, 2016 at St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Harlem, New York. BIBC realizes that the white rulers of the U.S. are attempting to frighten or seduce people to accept the idea that the security, well-being, and happiness of African people should be determined by the Democratic and Republican parties of Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump. Not. Terms like racist, fascist, socialist, and revolution are being thrown around during the primary by ruling class media and even some activists and black militants. For many, the 2016 presidential election represents a do-or-die situation that suggests choices of a return to something akin to slavery or a future of socialist plenty that will conquer the big banks and provide universal health care, meaningful employment, and a future of relative prosperity supported by a minimum wage hike. Delusions, illusions are existing because what we have to understand at the end of the day, there's a key word that relates to the Western imperial construct, and that word is this here: hegemony. Okay, this is their authoritarian paradigm. Okay, matter of fact, let's do this. Let's look up the word. Let's look up this word because we need to understand this stuff. I'm going in and out. I'm sure my internet isn't acting the best for some reason. Let's look up this word hegemony. Okay, because this is all of this construct here. This is a Western imperial hegemony, or what you would call a hegemon. Okay, give me a 4 when you access that, please and thank you. Okay, so this is what a hegemon is, and this is going to continue no matter who is in office, be it a pseudo Sanders, a neoliberal plutocrat or oligarch by the name of Hillary Clinton, or a neo-fascist moron by the name of Donald Trump. It really doesn't matter who gets in office because there is an agenda already set. And in a hegemony, this is the leadership or predominant influence exercised by one nation over others, as in a confederation. That is the first one. And you will see the predominant influence is a Western imperial construct. So that is the predominant influence. It is a Western imperial banker-based, bloodline connected system that is intent on expansion. And we'll see that soon. And that's the next definition. Number 2 is leadership and predominance. And 3, especially among smaller nations, so this is exercised on smaller nations and smaller peoples and groups, aggression or expansionism by large nations in an effort to achieve world domination. Now, this is the basis of all this. And that word comes from the Greek hegemonia, which is leadership or supremacy. So this is pretty much white supremacy in a sanitized state, okay? And it means the leader, okay? So you can see all this here very much wrapped up in a nice little blanket. Continuing with the article, the U.S. initiated or supported wars that ravage Africa and contribute to its continued poverty and starvation, go back as far as the kidnapping and enslavement of our people 600 years ago, are being ignored by all the candidates. Your boy Bernie Sanders isn't even up for reparations. Not that we're going to ever get it from these people. We know Deuteronomy 28:68 says we shall be sold as male and female bondservants, but no man shall buy us. No man shall redeem us. In other words, our redemption doesn't come from man. Okay, we have to understand our role in our own redemption as relates to going back to Yah. The misery imposed on Haiti by the U.S. and its handmaiden, the United Nations, is not even worth a discussion by the wealthy white people running for the one of them has united with our call for black community control of the police in the face of blatant police terrorism that has helped to shape public discussion since the August 9th, 2014 uprising in Ferguson, Missouri, after the police murdered 18-year-old unarmed Michael Brown. None of them has protested the U.S. involvement in flooding the oil market by Saudi Arabia in order to destroy the economies of Russia, Venezuela, Iran, and others that the U.S. has deemed enemies to the white ruling class. So you can see these countries who want to exercise self-determination are actually enemies to the Western hegemon. There is no electoral discussion of an end to U.S. predatory wars against the peoples of the world, including the Palestinians being crushed daily by the white nationalist settler state of Israel in a manner similar to what happens to African people in the U.S. at the hands of the U.S. Even the universal denunciation of Trump for plans to build a wall to keep the Mexican people out of the land that was recently stolen from Mexico falls hollow in the face of total white ruling class support for the white nationalist state of Israel that has walled off most of the land whites have stolen from the Palestinians. Now, we already know that that's just two misplaced peoples fighting for a land that doesn't belong to either of them. Okay, so let's be clear about that as well. Okay, so this is nothing more than political theater, right? The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace and Reparations is also aware that none of the presidential candidates supports the just demand for reparations to African people for centuries of enslavement and brutality. I would add continued brutality and enslavement at the hands of white people. And of course, there's some black faces with white interests as well. Let's not be confused about that. And the U.S. government. This does include the black favored Killer Mike promoted Bernie Sanders, the socialist. We are aware that in the final analysis, the issue is about power, hegemony, supremacy, okay, rulership, imperialism. It is about the right and ability of our people to exercise self-determination. This is what we're coming down to, and the more we're looking to our enemies for us to allow us to determine our own reality and have the power to define our reality and to have others accept it, is never going to come to be. So this really comes down to, even I would add a part 3 to what M70 just presented. Because this is all about the nature of power and authority. This is the question that our community must address during this critical election season, okay? Are we able to exercise self-determination? Do we have the right to go about defining our lives and our historical reality ourselves? And if that is not the case, then we don't need to deal with anyone, okay? And we already know it's not the case, so let's not be so simple-minded. The Black is Back Coalition does not think that our future should be in the hands of the Democratic or the Republican Party, but in the hands of African people ourselves. The BIBC calls on all Africans to come out to this important conference on the 9th. We have something a little different. I'm not going to read that there, but it is about self-determination. And what we have to understand is that we are approaching a memorial in time that is all about self-determination. And I don't mean self as in the sense that we're doing this ourselves. We're doing this in the spirit that was given to us to determine our national reality. And that is called Pesach and Chag Matzot, the feasts of Passover and unleavened bread. So this is what we have to bring ourselves to, and to that matter there. So let's take a look at this next article and understand how these puppets are being placed before us. And so many of these, I won't even call him Uncle Tom's out, because Uncle Tom, you got to understand, was a hero in that book. When you really understand Uncle Tom's Cabin, he wasn't a coon. He wasn't a sellout. Uncle Tom was a leader. Uncle Tom was a revolutionary. Okay? But of course, that term is used and misappropriated by our enemies in order to deceive us even further. But this next article comes to us from Black Agenda Report. Give me a 4 when you access this, please. It is called The Empire's Weapon of Identity Politics and the Ghetto Comment controversy. All right, so identity politics. Remember the name of this presentation: politics, corruption, identity, nationalism, and self-determination. Okay, and one of the empire's main weapons that they use is identity politics and the demonization of the ghetto. Okay, so Hillary Clinton in '94 said that black youth are super predators, and that we need to do so. I forgot what word she used, but to pretty much bring them to heel is what she said. We need to bring them to heel, and we know the Clinton administration had the proliferation of the prison industrial complex coming to point that was unprecedented in any time before that. More of our people went into enslavement, and they call it voluntary because now you were a criminal. But they went into enslavement more so than any other time in history besides slavery, chattel slavery. But Danny Highfong writes this. Let's see what Danny has to say. So Bernie Sanders is feeling the backlash of the Hillary Clinton camp. In a question on white privilege during the March 6th Democratic Party debate in the black city of Flint, the Democratic Party candidates were asked to discuss possible racial blind spots in their rule. Sanders answered by saying that white people don't know what it's like to live in the ghetto. You from the ghetto. That's where the original ghetto started, in Europe, in Poland. So please don't get this twisted. This unleashed a storm of social media backlash, most notably from MSNBC pundit Joy Ann Reid. The backlash exposed how the empire uses identity politics to win oppressed people over to the Clinton establishment. Listen to that. The empire uses identity politics. They understand social science, political science. They understand these things. How to win oppressed people over to their oppressor. So this is really like every candidate you're looking at is an oppressor. Okay? One is a little more tactful than others. But at the end of the day, they're all connected to the systematic oppression and even extermination of us as a people. The author has made his share of criticisms of the Sanders camp. However, the superficial criticism currently being leveled on Sanders by the corporate establishment represents a level of danger above that of his campaign. Corporate pundits like Joy Ann Reid have made a career out of defaming opposition to corporate warmongers like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Reid, like Harris Perry, was hired to protect Obama from any legitimate criticism from the left. Remember, the left and black people were the enemies of the Nixon administration and the White House. Has that changed? No. But they found a flunky that they can use who supposedly marched with MLK, who supposedly prides his career off of siding with the oppressed. And maybe he has done some good things. But I guarantee you, he has been groomed and prepped for what he is now embarking on. It's not any coincidence that he now finds himself as a candidate for the president of the United States. This isn't all voluntary. It's orchestrated. So now that Obama is on his way out, Reid has placed her career prospects in the hand of the Clinton regime. Reid's criticism of Sanders goes something like this. Reid asserts that not all black Americans live in poverty. White Americans and immigrants experience poverty too. Others tweeted in agreement that being black does not automatically ascribe poverty. Reid attacked Sanders on a matter of interpretation and the use of careless language, not on political merit. This reduced politics to a game of which corporate candidates can muster up the correct narrative to appease the ears, to tickle the ears, and not have them critically think about the matter of the black misleadership class, rather than a struggle for the power, self-determination, and material benefit of workers and oppressed people of all nationalities. Of course, the former is the purpose of identity politics, okay, to appease the ears of the black misleadership class, and the latter is what the empire's use of of them is meant to restrain. So they use the black misleadership class to keep the struggle for power, self-determination, and material benefit of workers under heel, you could say. But see, this is what we got to understand. The heel of Esau is the hand of Yaakov. The heel of Esau is the hand of Yaakov. What does that mean? The end of the rule of Esau is the beginning of the rule of Jacob. And what we are seeing, even as we speak, as Hillary Clinton so prophetically really uttered in 94, not understanding what she's saying, we have to keep them under heel, is that their heel has been exposed. Their Achilles has been exposed. And now it is up to the people who understand the exposing of that heel to capitalize on it and put ourselves in the position of bringing forth the true kingdom. The true kingdom and the true rule and the true sovereignty and the true power and the true authority of the Most High. What is more ironic is that Reed's assessment of Black America's condition is patently false. Black median wealth in the U.S. has fallen from $6,700 to $1,700 since the 2008 capitalistic economic crisis. Can you hear that? That is disparaging. The statement I had said, Shimshon, was the heel. Let me type it in the room too. The heel of Esau is the hand of Yaakov, which means the rule at the end of the rule of Esau is the beginning of the rule of Yaakov in Yah. Okay, so that's what that is addressing. But again, a whopping $5,000 decline since 2008 in the crisis has direly affected Black Americans. Africans who are in America, shall I say. And of course, we know there's one on the precipice right now, soon to come. But in Boston, Black Americans have a median net worth of zero. They don't make nothing. There's no profit, there's no loss. They just don't have nothing. Black median wealth for a single Black woman is $100. This indicates that more Black Americans live in real poverty than the official number. The same goes for unemployment. Black Americans are twice as likely to be unemployed than whites. U.S. government measures of unemployment are obscured by the lack of inclusion of people who have given up looking for a job or working temporary, part-time jobs. This means Black unemployment is also greater than what can be concluded from the annals of Washington. Because we don't always give our demographic information up. We don't even want to deal with experiencing some severe technical difficulties with our internet system. Just keeps knocking me off. Apologize for that. Waiting for my online room to come back up. I don't know if you get reassituated. This is just absurd. No other way to put it. I have to wait for this room to initialize. Here we go. I apologize, but if I can be heard, give me a 4. Man, my internet system or server, AT&T, keeps just booting me off. So let's go ahead and get back to this article. So again, she's just interested. Reed's comments show that she is only interested in how the corporate two-party system in the U.S. will serve her class. And this is classism, okay? This is the socioeconomic realities that are being used to further keep the oppressed oppressed. This is why she employs the empire's brand of identity politics to take the legs out of Sanders' campaign. Not that I'm for Sanders' campaign whatsoever. Identity politics are a convenient neoliberal weapon to silence constant concrete discussion over policy. Okay, so many people are caught up in just rhetorical speeches as opposed to listening to the policies. This is what Obama has done so cleverly. He's used identity politics, which is me identify with Obama, as opposed to really what are his policies about? Who has his policies affected more? And we know undoubtedly that we have suffered more under his administration than any administration in the past. You can see that from that $5,000 decline, almost a 500% decrease in income and net worth. Efforts to make the empire more diverse replace discussion over war, state, repression, and the economic conditions of the vast majority of working class people. So to make it more diverse, we need to make sure that we have more blacks, more Asians, more Jews, more homosexual and lesbian LGBTQ people in our administration. That becomes more important and displaces the conversations about war, state repression, and economics, true matters that deal with governance, and we become lost. All right. So these issues that create mass movements, these are issues that create mass movements, not careers. Mass movements are exactly what Reed is afraid of. We are a movement. We are a national movement. We are a kingdom movement. And this is exactly what the empire fears. Bernie Sanders is not the solution to the problems of the oppressed, but he surely isn't the primary enemy at the moment either. Not the primary enemy, but he nonetheless is still part of a system that is the professed enemy. All right. The U.S. imperial state is the enemy, and both parties are to blame for the plight of the oppressed. Hillary Clinton is the most dangerous candidate in this year's race, even more so than Trump. Trump is just like a wild card who just happened to have some sort of success with a disgruntled, hateful element of society that he happened to capitalize on. But the true danger, the true threat to this particular administration, to this election year, is Hillary Clinton. She has destroyed entire countries with her policy of regime change. She was the architect of the coup in Honduras and played a leading role in the genocidal proxy wars in Libya and Syria. As a servant for Israel, Clinton has consistently pushed for war with Iran on behalf of the Zionist state. In addition to her imperialist ventures abroad, Hillary Clinton has made a killing from the destruction of black lives. Please understand this. She supported her husband's crime bill of 1994 and the evisceration of welfare in 1996. So watch out for food stamps of the SNAP program. Watch out for Social Security. My. I don't know if she goes back that far, Shimshon, but she's just as dirty as it gets. My. As a former board member of Walmart, Hillary Clinton enthusiastically promoted the passage of the NAFTA agreement, the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement. In her 2016 campaign, Clinton has the support of weapons manufacturers and prison lobbyists. She has openly announced that she would continue the Obama administration's effort to destroy public education. The Hillary Clinton regime would undoubtedly bring an intensification of imperialist war, low-wage capitalism, and the repression of black Americans through the mechanism of the mass incarceration state, and I would add to that, police terrorism. The truth is that no candidate selected by Wall Street's two-party system can change the course of U.S. imperialism. They won't change the course of the hegemon. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party are servants of imperialism, and Sanders won't alter this fact. But Sanders hasn't been chosen by Wall Street and the imperialist class to run the empire. Hillary has. The Washington Post ran 16 hit pieces on Sanders at the same time that Joy Ann Reid attempted to pull the racial rug out from under him. Shortly after, the mothers of Trayvon Martin and Jordan Davis joined in on the attack on Sanders for his ghetto comment. So they used that crisis as an opportunity. The imperialists want Hillary for president and have employed the politics of identity to destroy Sanders. The empire has spoken. Even the U.S. Chamber of Commerce published a piece deriding socialism which could easily be read as an attack on Sanders. The social welfare days of imperialism are gone. Sanders is no longer useful, and the empire has united against him. The left shouldn't be thinking about a defense of Sanders, but of principles that are critical to the development of a revolutionary movement. Movements, people. And this does require geographic relocation, not just building momentum and a movement against the system here, but consider as well repatriation. Okay? Movement. That's a real movement. And in this case, Sanders is being attacked in an unprincipled manner that only strengthens the fascist, the true fascist corporate regime of Hillary Clinton. The destruction of the two-party state and the social revolution necessary to carry this out cannot happen if the masses are led down the path of identity politics. As Amilcar Cabral said, people fight for material benefits, not ideas. We should remember this as the assault on Sanders continues. It's ugly. Election years happen to be the most unprincipled, mudslinging, unbridled, wicked years ever known to man. And it's so interesting that there's a movie about to come out called The Purge Election Year because that's exactly what's about to take place. There's about to be some serious purges that take place. But I want us to understand this last article, a speech given in 1964, an election year, by El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X, the ballot or the bullet. And I thought long and hard about how to present this. Should I give the actual video of the speech? But I thought about it, and I think doing a more literary analysis of it by being able to read it and then discuss, to talk about it and to give some critique and some reflection on what the brother minister spoke is more effective. And this is it's a little lengthy, but at the same time, it contains within it a masterpiece of a solution. And we need, oh my goodness, are you serious? Got dropped again on Pal Talk. They definitely don't want to hear this. This is crazy. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. I thought my whole internet got dropped. It seems that what just happened was Pal Talk timed out. I'm having Pal Talk problems right now. So just bear with me as I get back up so I can get back in this room and share this article, this last article that I have for the day. And we'll get it going shortly, y'all will. Wow. This is all bad. This is just all bad. It don't make no sense. This is bad business. Bad, bad business. See if I can get it on my cell phone. It may not even come up there. It does work on my cell phone. Let me see if it works on this here now. Nope. This is crazy. All right, if I can be heard on this device, give me a 4, please. If I can be heard on this device, give me a 4, please. Can I be heard? If I can be heard, give me a 4. If I can be heard, press 4. Give me a minute.
Are you doing that?
Yes.
Okay, can you hear?
No, just wait. I'm about to talk. All right. If I can be heard, give me a 4. Okay, man. What I was just about to say was this is the Ballot or the Bullet speech by Malcolm X. And this is undeniably one of the greatest speeches given in America. My son, little boy behind me, acting a little silly. Um, but he presents in here a powerful, magnificent solution to dealing with this system. So let's go ahead and just get into this article. Uh, so this is, again, Malcolm X, the Ballot of the Bullet, given in Cleveland, Ohio. Mr. Moderator, Brother Lomax, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies. Okay, just hold your question till the end of the presentation, and that'll be an excellent opportunity to, when we have an open mic, is it Aurelia? Babakashah, just hold your question to the end, and we can go ahead and open up. And I'm glad you do have questions. We definitely gotta, have dialogue about this stuff. I just can't believe everyone in here is a friend, he says, and I don't want to leave anybody out. The question tonight, as I understand it, is the Negro Revolt, and where do we go from here? Or what next? In my little humble way of understanding it, it points toward either the ballot or the bullet. Before we try and explain what is meant by the ballot or the bullet, I would like to clarify something concerning myself. Malcolm says that he's still a Muslim. His religion is Islam. That's my personal belief, just as Adam Clayton Powell is a Christian minister who heads the Abyssinian Baptist Church in New York, but at the same time takes part in the political struggles to try and bring about rights to the black people in the country. Dr. Martin Luther King is a Christian minister down in Atlanta, Georgia, who heads another organization fighting for civil rights of black people in this country. And Reverend Galamasan, I guess you've heard of him, is another Christian minister in New York who has been deeply involved in the school boycotts to eliminate segregated education. Well, I myself am a minister, not a Christian minister, but a Muslim minister, and I believe in action on all fronts by whatever means necessary. Although Malcolm was still a Muslim, he was not there tonight to discuss his religion. He's not here. He wasn't there to try to change your religion. He wasn't there to argue or discuss anything that we differ about, because it's time for us to submerge our differences and realize that it is best for us to first see that we have the same problem, a common problem, a problem that will make you catch hell whether you're a Baptist or a Methodist or a Muslim or a nationalist. And this is why Hebrew Vision has a perspective and even an ideology of Pan-Africanism. We understand that. We understand our role in the scope of Pan-Africanism at the same time as Israelites. We understand our unique positioning as Pan-Africanists in the global struggle against the Western imperial model. We understand all this, okay? So let's be clear as we read this. So whether you're educated or illiterate, whether you live on the boulevard or in the alley, you're going to catch hell just like I am. We're all in the same boat, and we are all going to catch the same hell from the same man. He just happens to be a white man. All of us have suffered here in this country. Political oppression at the hands of the white man, economic exploitation at the hands of the white man, and social degradation at the hands of the white man. So there it is, those three clear elements and aspects of life: political, economic, and social. If we don't understand those three dynamics as relates to our self-determined national redemptive reality, we are going to never accomplish such matters. Okay, we have to understand each of those elements thoroughly. Now, when speaking like this, it doesn't mean that we're anti-white, but it does mean we're anti-exploitation, we're anti-degradation, we're anti-oppression. And if the white man doesn't want us to be anti-him, let him stop oppressing and exploiting and degrading us. Whether we are Christians or Muslims or nationalists or agnostics or atheists, we must first learn to forget our differences. If we have differences, let us differ in the closet. When we come out in front, let us not have anything to argue about until we get finished arguing with the man. And I make this argument for even Israel as a nation, because there's so many, I would even call them petty differences at times, that separate us. And we need to put those aside and deal with those in our own closet, not before everyone, and air out our dirty laundry. This goes to our households, from households to the nation. We got to make sure that we come out in front of the eyes of the world as a united front. And then if we do have differences, let's work them out behind closed doors. That is crucial. We don't have to air out everything and let people know where the division lies, because people will see that and put a bigger wedge in between it and exacerbate it. Okay? And use different agent provocateurs to give more intensity to that division and dissension and difference. So, if the late President Kennedy could get together with Khrushchev, yes, indeed. Yep. I would agree with that. Yep. But if the late President Kennedy could get together with Khrushchev and exchange some wheat, we certainly have more in common with each other than Kennedy and Khrushchev had with each other. If we don't do something real soon, and this was back in '64, I think you'll have to agree that we're going to be forced either to use the ballot or the bullet. It's one or the other in 1964. It isn't that time is running out. Time has run out. And he said that 5 decades ago, people. 5 decades ago, Malcolm recognized that time had run out for us in America. 1964 threatens to be the most explosive year America has witnessed. Now look at what's happening. Now look at what's happening. Okay, so this is just mounted. The powder keg has gotten more pressure rise, and now it's really about to pop. The most explosive year. Why? Because it's also a political year. It's the year when all the white politicians will be back in this so-called Negro community, jiving with you and me for some votes. The year when all of the white political crooks will be right back in your and my community with their false promises, building up our hopes for a letdown, with their trickery and their treachery, with their false promises which they don't intend to keep. Nothing has changed. As they nourish these dissatisfactions, it can only lead to one thing: an explosion. And you've seen it explode right now. Jamar Clark's officers in Minneapolis, Minnesota, just this past week were not brought up on criminal charges for the murder of an unarmed black man. They were not brought up on criminal charges. So this is another piece of gunpowder added to this plot. All right? So they nourish these dissatisfactions. Exactly. More injury to insults. It can only lead to one thing, an explosion. And now we have the type of black man on the scene in America today. I'm sorry, Brother Lomax, who just doesn't intend to turn the other cheek any longer. Yep. No ballot to use. So where does that leave us? We have no power of or in the bullet. So don't think you are closed off from using the bullet, or just get the exactly Elders of Canyona. All we gotta do is vote with our feet, vote with our money, our resources. Vote with your feet and with your resources. That's how you do it right there. Yep, exactly. Burn out, raise up. Don't let anybody tell you anything about the odds are against you. If they draft you, they send you to Korea and make you face 80 million Chinese. If you can be brave over there, you can be brave right here. The odds aren't as great as those odds, and if you fight right, you will at least know what you're fighting for. I'm not a politician, not even a student of politics. In fact, I'm not a student of much of anything. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, and I don't even consider myself an American. Malcolm was so on point. If you and I were Americans, there'd be no problem. Those honkies that just got off the boat, they're already Americans. Polacks are already Americans. The Italian refugees are already Americans. Everything, everything that came out of Europe, every blue-eyed thing is already an American. And as long as you and I have been over here, we aren't Americans yet to this day, people. To this day. There you go, Elder. Well, I'm one who doesn't believe in deluding myself. I'm not going to sit at your table and watch you eat with nothing on my plate and call myself a diner. Sitting at the table doesn't make you a diner unless you eat some of what's on that plate. Being here in America doesn't make you an American. We need to understand this as a people. Take your hand off your heart. Stop pledging allegiance to this flag and this land because it has not given you anything on your plate but hardship. A bitter affliction. That's what we've tasted. Being born here in America doesn't make you American. Why? If birth makes you an American, you wouldn't need any legislation. You wouldn't need any amendment to the Constitution. You wouldn't be faced with civil rights filibustering in Washington, D.C. right now. They don't have to pass civil rights legislation to make a Polak an American. No, I'm not an American. I'm one of the now up to 40 million black people who are the victims of Americanism. One of the 40 million black people who are the victims of democracy. Nothing but disguised hypocrisy. So I'm not standing here speaking to you as an American or a patriot or a flag saluter or a flag waver. No, not I. I'm speaking as a victim of this American system. He understood this well in 1964, people. And I see America through the eyes of the victim. I don't see any American dream. I see an American nightmare. These 40 million Africans, victims, are waking up. Yes, indeed, Shimshon. Their eyes are coming open. They're beginning to see what they used to only look at. They're becoming politically mature. They are realizing that there are new political trends from coast to coast. As they see these new political trends, it's possible for them to see that every time there's an election, the races are so close that they have to have a recount. They had to recount in Massachusetts to see who was going to be governor. It was so close. It was the same way in Rhode Island, in Minnesota, and in many other parts of the country. And the same with Kennedy and Nixon, who, when they ran for president, it was so close they had to count all over again. Well, what does that mean? It means that when white people are evenly divided and black people have a block of votes of their own, it's left up to them to determine who's going to sit in the White House and who's going to be in the doghouse. My, exactly. The only people born in the country that don't have a right to vote. Yup. What sense does that make? It was the black man's vote that put the present administration in Washington, D.C. Your vote, your dumb vote, your ignorant vote, your wasted vote put in an administration in Washington, D.C. that has seen fit to pass every kind of legislation imaginable, saving you until the last, then filibustering on top of that. And your and my leaders, the misleadership class, have the audacity to run around clapping their hands and talk about how much progress we're making. And what a good president we have. If he wasn't good in Texas, he sure can't be good in Washington, D.C. This goes for the president speaking today. Because Texas is a lynch state. It is in the same breath as Mississippi. And we know that Arkansas, where the Clintons are from, was a lynch state. Missouri was a lynch state. Okay? New York was a very a sophisticated lynch state. Even though, well, America is a lynch country. Let's just put it plain. It's a lynch country. So these Negroes have the audacity to go and have some coffee in the White House with the Texan, a Southern cracker. That's all he is. And then come out and tell you and me that he's going to be better for us because since he's from the South, he knows how to deal with the Southerners. What kind of logic is that? Let Eastland be president. He's from the South too. He should be better able to deal with them than Johnson. Mm-mm-mm. Well, the key is just to go out, not go down, go out, get out. That's the real key if you really want to get down to it. This is what the scriptures are telling us to do. We're going to read it in our last passage from the book of Amos. All right, we're going to read that. But I want to get this speech in because this speech is so crucial. In this present administration, they have in the House of Representatives 257 Democrats to only 177 Republicans. They control 2/3 of the House vote. Why can't they pass something that will help you and me? They control, in the Senate, there are 67 senators who are of the Democratic Party. Only 33 of them are Republican. While the Democrats have gotten the government sold up. And you're the one who sold it up for them. And what have they given and what have they given you for it? 4 years in office and just now getting around to some civil rights legislation. Just now, after everything else is gone out of the way, they're going to sit down now and play with you all summer long. The same old giant con game that they call filibuster. All those are in cahoots together. Don't you ever think that they're not in cahoots together? For the man that is heading the civil rights filibuster is a man from Georgia named Richard Russell. When Johnson became president, the first man he asked for when he got back to Washington, D.C. was Dickie. That's how tight they are. That's his boy. That's his pal. That's his buddy. But they're playing that old con game. One of them believes he's for you. And he's got it fixed where the other one is so tight against you, you never has to keep his promise. He never has to keep his promise. So it's time in 1964 to wake up. So here we are in 2016. I know that many of us in this room, if not all of us prayerfully, have woken up to the con game that's being put down in this election year. Okay? But your duty is to go out and try to wake other people up. That's what we got to do. So when you see them coming up with that kind of conspiracy, let them know your eyes are open. Let them know you. And let them know you something else that's wide open too. It's got to be the ballot or the bullet. The ballot or the bullet. If you're afraid to use an expression like that, you should get on out of the country. You should get back in the cotton patch. You should get back in the alley. They get all the Negro vote. And after they get it, the Negroes gets nothing in return. All they did when they got to Washington was give a few big Negroes big jobs. Those big Negroes didn't need big jobs. They already had jobs. That's the camouflage. That's the trickery, the treachery, the window dressing. I'm not trying to knock out the Democrats for the Republicans. We'll get to them in a minute. But it is true. You put the Democrats first, and the Democrats put you last. Look at it the way it is. What alibis do they use since they control Congress and the Senate? What alibi do they use when you and I ask, well, when are you going to keep your promise? They blame the Dixiecrats. What is a Dixiecrat? Same as it is today, a Democrat. The Dixiecrat is nothing but a Democrat in disguise. The titular head of the Democrats is also the head of the Dixiecrats because the Dixiecrats are a part of the Democratic Party. And Roosevelt knew exactly what he was doing when he made the Democratic Party more for the so-called black folks. He knew exactly what he was doing in making them vote for the Democratic Party and supporting their own systematic oppression and enslavement and dependency on the system. Okay, just like a crackhead. The Democrats have never kicked the Dixiecrats out of the party. The Dixiecrats voted themselves once, but the Democrats didn't put them out. Imagine these low-down Southern segregationists put the Northern Democrats down, but the Northern Democrats have never put the Dixiecrats down. Yep, that's what they are, Shimshon. No, look at the thing the way it is. They have got a con game going on, a
political con game, and you and I are in the middle. It's time for you and me to wake up and start looking at it like it is and trying to understand it like it is, and then we can deal with it like it is. The Dixiecrats in D.C. control the key committees that run the government. The only reason the Dixiecrats control these committees is because they have seniority. That's why these people sit in these seats for so long, to get seniority and to actually control the actual direction that the government goes. The only reason they have seniority is because they come from states where Negroes can't vote. This is not even a government that's based on democracy. It's not a government that is made up of representatives of the people. Half of the people in the South can't even vote. Eastland is not even supposed to be in Washington. Half of the senators and congressmen who occupy these key positions in D.C. are there illegally, are there unconstitutionally. It don't matter now. We know that none of that matters. Malcolm said he was in D.C. a week ago, Thursday, when they were debating whether or not they should let the bill come onto the floor. And in the back of the room where the Senate meets, there's a huge map of the United States, and on that map, it shows the location of Negroes throughout the country. They got you mapped out. They got us mapped out. They know exactly where we are and what our behaviors are like, what our values are, what our interests are. They got us mapped out, people. It shows that the southern section of the country, that the states are most heavily concentrated with Negroes, are the ones that senators and congressmen standing up filibustering and doing all kinds of other trickery to keep the Negro from being able to vote. This is pitiful, but it's not pitiful for us any longer. It's actually pitiful for the white man, because soon now, as the Negro awakens a little more and sees the vice that he's in, sees the bag that he's in, sees the real game that he's in, then the Negro's going to develop a new tactic. And we're telling you what the tactic is in this room, but here's the key. We have to heed it. We have to heed it. These senators and congressmen actually violate the constitutional amendments that guarantee the people of that particular state or country the right to vote. So you're seeing these new ID requirements for people to vote in these other states, and they're even trying to bring back these intellectual tests for people to vote, even though voting is a sham. But they're just making it more hard, because if voting changed anything, there's a phrase that says, then they would make it illegal. It would be illegal if voting truly changed things. So the Constitution itself has within it the machinery to expel any representative from a state where the voting rights of the people are violated. You don't even need new legislation. Any person in Congress right now who is there from a state or a district where the voting rights of the people are violated, that particular person should be expelled from Congress. And when you expel him, you remove one of the obstacles in the path of any real meaningful legislation in this country. In fact, when you expel them, you don't need new legislation, because they will be replaced by black representatives from counties and districts where the black man is in the majority, not in the minority. If the black man in these southern states had his full voting rights, these key Dixiecrats in D.C., which means the key Democrats in D.C. would lose their seats. So Malcolm was telling us strategies to empower ourselves in the 60s, which unfortunately nobody picked up on. And because nobody picked up on, that ditch that was being dug only got deeper and deeper, until now here we are finding ourselves completely in the abyss. Completely in the abyss with no political power, a black misleadership class that has sold us out and turned us over to the wolves. So what have we left to do but to repatriate, but to seek refuge? Okay? Yep. Congressional Black Caucus. Yep. Black Caucus. What, huh? Now, we know we were the first people in that caucus region, but come on now. Let's really think about that. I'm going to go down some more to the next paragraph. He says, I'll say it again, he's not anti-Democrat nor anti-Republican. I'm not anti-anything. I'm just questioning their sincerity and some of the strategy that they've been using on our people by promising them promises that they don't intend to keep. When you keep the Democrats in power, you're keeping the Dixiecrats in power. I doubt that my good brother Lomax will deny that. A vote for a Democrat is a vote for a Dixiecrat. You voting for anybody, and today you're voting for your oppression. That's why in 64, it's time now for you and me to become more politically mature and realize what the ballot is for. what we're supposed to get when we cast a ballot. That if we don't cast a ballot, it's going to end up in a situation where we're going to have to cast a bullet. Again, it's either a ballot or a bullet. In the North, they do it a different way. They have a system that's known as gerrymandering. Here you go, Auntie. Whatever that means, it means that when Negroes become too heavily concentrated in a certain area and begin to gain too much political power, the white man comes along and changes the district lines. You may say, why do you keep saying white man? Because it's the white man who does it. I haven't ever seen a Negro changing any lines, and they're redistricting, and gentrifying so many areas right now, okay? And this is all dealing with gerrymandering. They don't let him get near the line. It's the white man who does this, and usually it's the white man who grins at you the most and pats you on the back and is supposed to be your friend. He may be friendly, but he's sure not your friend. So what I'm trying to impress upon you in essence is this. You and I in America are faced not with the segregationist conspiracy. We're faced with the government conspiracy. Just like in Kemet, just like in Mitzrayim, just like in Egypt. It wasn't a segregationist thing. It was a government-sponsored extermination and enslavement of people. That's what that means. That's what he's trying to impress upon you. It's nothing different than when our ancestors were in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. Governance, exactly, Shimshon. Everyone who's filibustering is a senator. That's the government. Everyone who's finagling in Washington, D.C. is a congressman. That's the government. You don't have anybody putting blocks in your path but people who are a part of the government that has been usurped. Okay? Because truly the people, we are the government. But what has happened in America is they have disempowered the people, given it to the corporations and the corporation itself. All right? That's the true government in this country. The same government that you go abroad to fight for and die for is the government that is in a conspiracy to deprive you of your voting rights, deprive you of your economic opportunities, deprive you of decent housing, deprive you of decent education. You don't need to go to the employer alone. It is the government itself, the government of America, that is responsible for the oppression and exploitation and degradation of the black people in this country. You should drop it in their lap. The government has failed the Negro. The so-called democracy has failed the Negro. And all these white liberals have definitely failed the Negro. Don't expect anything less from any of these candidates that are running today. So where do we go from here? First, we need some friends. We need some new allies. The entire civil rights struggle needs a new interpretation, a broader interpretation. We need to go to human rights, is what Malcolm argued. We need to look at this civil rights thing from another angle, from the inside as well as from the outside. To those of us whose philosophy is black nationalism, the only way you can get involved in the civil rights struggle is give it a new interpretation. That old interpretation excluded us. It kept us out. This is where power comes into the picture, people. A new interpretation means you have to redefine something and make other people accept it as it is as if it is their own. So we're giving it a new interpretation to the civil rights struggle, and an interpretation that will enable us to come into it, to take part of it. And these handkerchiefs heads who have been dilly-dallying and pussyfooting and compromising, we don't intend to let them pussyfoot and dilly-dally and compromise any longer. How can you thank a man for giving you what's already yours? How then can you thank him for giving you only part of what's already yours? You haven't even made progress if what's been given to you, you should already have. That's not progress. And I love my brother Lomax, the way he pointed out we're right back where we were in 1954. We're not even as far up as we were in 1954. We're behind where we were in 1954. So imagine where we are today. We're further behind that. There's more segregation now than there was in 1954. There's more racial animosity, more racial hatred, more racial violence today in 2016 than there was in 1954. Where is the progress? Where's the change? There is none. And now you're facing a situation where the young Negroes coming up, they don't want to hear that turn the other cheek stuff. No. In Jacksonville, where those were teenagers, they were throwing Molotov cocktails. Negroes have never done that before. But it shows you there's a new deal coming in. There's new thinking coming in. There's new strategy coming in. It'll be Molotov cocktails next month, this month, hand grenades next month, and something else next month. It'll be ballots or it'll be bullets. It'll be liberty or it'll be death. The only difference about this kind of death is that it'll be reciprocal. You know what this means by reciprocal? That's one of Brother Lomax's words. I stole it from him. I usually don't deal with those big words because I don't deal with big people. I deal with small people. I find you can get a whole lot of small people and whip hell out of a whole lot of big people. They haven't got anything to lose, and they've got everything to gain. And they'll let you know in a minute. It takes two to tango. When I go, you go. Here we go into the nationalism, people. The black nationalists, those whose philosophy is black nationalism, in bringing about this new interpretation of the entire meaning of civil rights, look upon it as meaning, as Brother Lomax has pointed out, equality of opportunity, not integration, equality of opportunity, where we're justified in seeking civil rights if it means equality of opportunity, because all we're doing there is trying to collect for our investment. Our mothers and fathers invested sweat and blood, 310 years, which interestingly was 210 years of enslavement in Egypt, but 310 years we worked in this country without a dime in return. I mean, without a dime in return. You let the white man walk around here talking about how rich this country is, but you never stop to think how it got so rich so quick. It got rich because you made it rich. You take the people who are in this audience right now, they're poor. People in this room right now, we're poor. We're all poor as individuals. Our weekly salary individually amounts to hardly anything. But if you take the salary of everyone in this collective room here, it'll fill up a whole lot of baskets. You wonder how Yahushua multiplied that, huh? You wonder how he made 5,000 loaves come out of 5 loaves, huh? Because there was collectivism involved. There was unity of mind and purpose. There was one spirit. That's why. That's how it multiplies. Because we look out after each other. But if you take the salary again of everyone here collectively, it'll fill up a whole lot of baskets. It's a whole lot of wealth. If you can collect the wages of just these people right here for a year, you'll be rich. Richer, man. Richer than rich. So imagine what we do when we put our resources together, people. Just the, 20 people, 27 people in this room. If we all put our resources together in this room, if we had a kitty that we invested in, we would have so much power. Just 27 people in this room and the families connected with them. So when you look at it like that, think how rich Uncle Sam had to become, not with his handful, but millions of black people. Your and my mother and father who didn't work an 8-hour shift, but worked from can't see in the morning until can't see at night and work for nothing, making the white man rich, making Uncle Sam rich. That is our investment. That is our contribution, our blood. Not only did we give our free labor, we gave our blood. Now we know about. I'm gonna go down a little bit. Let's go down. Let me see. I'm gonna go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is where it gets kind of deep. It starts with this here. Let's come to this paragraph here. You want to go down probably about 18, 19 paragraphs. Because this is getting lengthy. Malcolm went in on this speech, man. This is one of the greatest speeches ever given. We're going to pick up right here. All right? This is what we're going to pick up. So scroll down to where you see the political philosophy of black nationalism means that the black man should control the politics and the politicians in his own community no more. Give me a 4 when you're at that spot. Give me a 4 when you get to that particular location. All right. So the black man in the black community, this is self-determination, has to be re-educated into the science of politics so he will know what politics is supposed to bring him in return. Don't be throwing out any ballots. A ballot is like a bullet. You don't throw your ballots until you see a target. And if that target is not within your reach, keep your ballot in your pocket. The political philosophy of black nationalism is being taught in the Christian church. It's being taught in the NAACP. Not no more. It's being taught in core meetings. It's being taught in SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee meetings. It's being taught in Muslim meetings. It's being taught where nothing but atheists and agnostics come together. It's being taught everywhere. Black people are fed up with the dilly-dallying, pussyfooting, compromising approach that we've been using towards getting our freedom. We want freedom now, but we're not going to get it saying we shall overcome. We've got to fight until we overcome. The economic philosophy of black nationalism is pure and simple. So we just dealt with the political philosophy, which means we control what goes on in our community. The economic philosophy of black nationalism is pure and simple. It means that we should control the economy in our own community. Why should white people be running all the stores in our community? Why should white people be running the banks of our community? Why should the economy of our community be in the hands of the white man? Why? If a black man can't move his store into a white community, you tell me why a white man should move his store into a black community. The philosophy of black nationalism involves a re-education program in the black community in regards to economics. Our people have to be made to see that anytime you take your dollar out of your community and spend it in a community where you don't live, the community where you live will get poorer and poorer, and the community where you spend your money will get richer and richer. Listen to that. Exactly, Auntie. Re-education. Then you wonder why you live, where you live is always a ghetto or a slum area. Okay, so this is going back to what Bernie Sanders just said. I don't know. A lot of white people don't know what it's like to live in a ghetto. Man, go on somewhere with all that. But this is a mentality now, okay? The slum mentality. We got to get out of that. Where you and I are concerned, not only do we lose it when we spend it out of the community, but the white man has got all our stores in the community tied up. So that though we spend it in the community at sundown, the man who runs the stores takes it over across town somewhere. He's got us in a vice. So the economic philosophy of black nationalism means in every church, in every civic organization, in every fraternal order, it's time now for our people to become conscious of the importance of controlling the economy of our community. But what happens in America, even when we do that, is they drop bombs on us, is they riot in our communities and tear it down. So we got to understand the importance of really, truly relocation. That's the reality we have to truly take into account, because the historical precedents of independent black social economies and political economies and economic economies get destroyed. They get destroyed. So if we own the stores, if we operate the businesses, if we try and establish some industry in our own community, then we're developing to the position where we are creating employment for our own kind. Once again, you gain control of the economy of your own community, then you don't have to picket and boycott and beg some cracker downtown for a job in his business. The social philosophy of black nationalism only means that we have to get together and remove the evils, the vices, alcoholism, drug addiction, and other evils that are destroying the moral fiber of our community. We ourselves have to lift the level of our community, the standard of our community, to a higher level. Make our own society beautiful so that we will be satisfied in our own social circles and won't be running around here trying to knock our way into a social circle where we're not wanted. So I say, in spreading a gospel such as black nationalism, it is not designed to make the black man reevaluate the white man. You already know him, but make the black man reevaluate himself. Don't change the white man's mind. You can't change his mind. The whole thing about appealing to the moral conscience of America, America's conscience is bankrupt. She lost all conscience a long time ago. Uncle Sam has no conscience. They don't know what morals are. Well, you know what? I'm going to end right there. Uncle Sam has no conscience. I mean, that's just the end of this statement here. You can go and read the rest of the speech or go and listen to it to yourself for yourself in full. This is as they gave a rhetorical analysis of this speech, and they considered the syntax of it, the content of it, and everything as relates to this speech. They said this is one of the greatest speeches ever given in American history, ever. The fluidity of it, the continuity of it, is his idiomatic expressions. Everything about this speech turned out to be like just masterful. What I want to do is go ahead and close out with this particular passage, Moraim 70, Vakashah. We're going to read the entirety of the book of Amos, the 9th chapter, which is the last chapter. Keep in mind, the name of this presentation was entitled Politics, Corruption, Identity, Nationalism, and Self-Determination. And as I was looking for a passage to capture pretty much the entirety of this presentation, this chapter came to my mind. Let's read this chapter as M70 posts for us Amos 9 in its entirety. Here we go. I saw Yah standing by the altar, and he said, smite the column head. Smite the leaders of that column, of that nation, so that the thresholds shake, so that the people themselves shake, and break them off by the head, all of them. Cut off the head, and the body shall wither. And the last of them I shall slay with the sword. Not one of them fleeing gets away, and not one fugitive of them escapes. So this is speaking about our separation from the land, our divorcement from the land, our exile. If they dig into the grave, from there my hand does take them. And if they climb up to the heavens, from there I bring them down. So that means if they go into exile, right, and they try to get all comfortable in exile, Yah's going to take them out. And if they go to the heavens, if they try to ascend in Israel, Yah going to bring them down from there. Why? Because we have been in disobedience. We have rejected the covenant. We have shirked our responsibilities. And if they hide themselves on top of Carmel, from there I shall search and take them. And if they hide from before my eyes at the bottom of the sea, from there I shall command the serpent, and it shall bite them. And if they go into captivity before their enemies, from there I shall command the sword, and it shall slay them. Do we not see this even as we speak? And I shall set my eyes on them for evil and not for good. Why? Because we have transgressed and broken the covenant. It is time to turn back to Yah and the covenant and our inheritance. Verse 5. And the master Yah of hosts is he who touches the earth so that it melts, and all who dwell in it. I'm sorry, I'm on 5. I'm on 4. It is 5. And the master of Yah is he who touches the earth so that it melts, and all of it come up like the river and subside like the river of Mitzrayim. Who is building his upper room in the heavens and has founded his firmament on the earth? Who is calling for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth? Yahuwah is his name, Baruch Hashem. Are you not like the people of Cush to me, O children of Israel? That's letting you know what you look like, declares Yah. Did I not bring Israel up from the land of Mitzrayim, the Philistines from Kaftor, and Aram from Kir? So you can see where all these people are coming from. Look, the eyes of the master Yah are on the sinful reign, and I shall destroy it from the face of the earth, except that I do not completely destroy the house of Yaakov, declares Yah. This sinful reign, including our reign when our ancestors were in sin, has been destroyed. So what do we expect to come to this particular nation but destruction? But he shall not destroy the house of Yaakov. Hallelujah. For look, I am commanding, and I shall sift the house of Israel among all the Gentiles as one sifts with a sieve, yet not one grain falls to the ground. All the sinners of my people are going to die by the sword. Those who are saying evil does not overtake us nor meet us. So we have to understand judgment starts with the house of Yah. It starts in our house. So we have to remove sin from our house and return to Yah for his redemptive works and powers. 11. In that day I shall raise up the booth of David which is fallen down. I shall repair its breaches and shall build and raise up its ruins. And I shall build it as in the days of old. What role do we play in this, though? Understand that, yeah, Yah does the spiritual matters, but who carries out the physical matters? Who carries this out? We have to be the ones who are going about repairing the breach and restoring the ways of old, as Isaiah 58 talks about, so that they possess the remnant of Edom. Remember, I talked about it. The hill of Esau is the hand of Yaakov, so that they possess the remnant of Edom and all the Gentiles on whom my name is called, declares Yah, who does this. Look, the days are coming, declares Yah, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the treader of grapes him who sows seed, and the mountain shall drip new wine, and all the hills melt. And here's the beauty of it. And I shall turn back the captivity of my people Israel. And they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them. We shall build them. That's the answer to the question. And they shall plant vineyards and drink wine from them, and shall make gardens and eat their fruit. And I shall plant them on their own soil, and not uproot them any more from their own soil I have given them, said Yah, your Elohim. And all of this is contingent upon our obedience to the word and the Torah. The reason why we found ourselves in captivity, Ezekiel 36 said it earlier. The Haftarah said it earlier. We defiled the land. We put our necks out there to get chopped off because of our transgressions. Our ancestors did that, and we have followed suit. But now it is time for our return to Yah, so that we do not suffer these curses, these woes, these plagues, these swords, these famines, these wild beasts tearing at us. This is what remains for us to do, to turn back to Yah, and to return to our fold. Because America has nothing for us. The captivity, the exile, has nothing for us. We're suffering, we're dying. Why do we number ourselves with those in Sheol? This is what Baruch says in the 3rd chapter. So I pray that we understand the politics, that we see and expose the corruption, that we reclaim our identity and understand the necessary unity of being a nation again, and understand what nationalism is about, so that we can exercise the self-determination that Yah has given us in his Torah to bring forth his kingdom. And with that, I'm going to close out with a Hatzi Kaddish. And Sister, is it Olahia? If you're still there, your question can be asked. We can go forward from there. So with that, Toda Rabbah for your hearing. And I close out with the Kaddish. Yikadav Yikadesh Shemei Rabbah. Yamadi Barak Kerute Vayimalech Malkute. Chayichunu Vyamichunu Kayedu Kobek Yisrael Bagala Uvizman Kariv. Miru Amen. Heshmei Rabbah Mavorak Le Ola Amul Me Almaya. Yit Barak Vayishtabach V'yipa'ah V'yigramam V'yit Naseh. V'yitadar V'yitalei V'yitalal Shemedu Kudashah Berichu. Ela Min Kol Barakata Vashirata Tush Bekata Banek Mitadamiran Ba'alma V'miru Amen. Say shalom b'mromav. Huya say shalom aleinu v'yakol Israel b'shem Mashiach Yehoshua Baruch Hashem. Hallelujah. V'miru Amen. Shabbat shalom, Lord. So if you have a question or quote, you can raise your hand. You can type it in the box. If you're still here. I don't think they are. Nope. So, but we can open the mic unless there's another presenter. Sheb, are you getting on the mic, Aki? Raise your hand, Sheb, if you're going to come on the mic. All right. Maybe not. Well, I'm going to go ahead and relinquish the mic. It will be open if Sheb doesn't get on. And we'll go forward from there. Todah for your hearing. All praises to Yah. If anything has been spoken in truth, if there's been any error, please continue to be patient with me as I'm working out my salvation with fear and trembling, and still becoming more conformed to the image and likeness of my and your master, Mashiach Yahushua, Baruch Hashem. One life, one love to see you on forever.